So what are environmentalists making of this current standoff between the Scottish Government and businesses? Is there scope for compromise? We spoke to the climate campaigner Laura Young. The deposit return scheme was supposed to be introduced in 2017, then 2022. It's now August 2023. Do you think it's going to happen then in full?
I think it has to happen, and whether or not we get it in full or not is still a big question, but I think there are parts of it that we need vitally, particularly thinking about focusing on some of the biggest producers of the waste that we're talking about. And of course, these represent a lot of the litter and a lot of the things that are being wrongly recycled or not recycled. So there are bits of it that we need to focus on, and actually we needed it years ago. And, you know, reflecting on what we've heard from some of the businesses that are going to get impacted, and we need to work with them well. There was a comment about the time is not right. Well, actually, when you think about our environmental impact, the time is right, the time is vital that we get this moving for the litter emergency, but also to really help improve the recycling rates that have been so low in Scotland for so long.
What about the argument of waiting until it's a UK-wide implementation so everyone's working together?
Partly we just can't keep waiting. We need to start something, and actually Scotland being able to try this out, work out the teething problems is a good step forward. And the Scottish Government's proposal is not perfect, it's not even near perfect, but there are bits of it that we should be implementing this August, we should be trying, and then working out, of course, how we can work well with small businesses and councils and communities to get the other parts of it right. But this has already been delayed long enough, and if we wait till 2025 or whenever the UK one comes in, we might end up waiting for way too long, and we're in a climate crisis, we're in a waste crisis. We can't keep waiting, so we need to be pushing forward with the bits that we can, particularly focusing on those big businesses, working out how we can then work with local communities and businesses to get the end of it done as well.
So what are those bits of the policy you're talking about?
So I think we need to be looking at how we work better with small businesses, not to make this a financial burden that is going to put some under or of course put some off working in Scotland. We also need to make sure that for communities, recycling isn't taken away for the items that aren't included in this. We know that there are many different containers that aren't to do with drinks that we still want to be able to widely recycle curbside. But I think we need to focus on how we can really target the big businesses who are able to scale up a deposit return scheme. We need to be looking to them and saying, what can they do on the large scale to really encourage and incentivise people to be putting their things, first of all, not down as litter, but into a really reliable recycling scheme, which the deposit return scheme will improve. People
have been adapting to recycling in their bins and their curbside for quite some time now. Do you think they will adapt to this so well, and particularly the lack of clarity maybe in how they get the money back, and even having to clean the containers before they take them back, that sort of thing?
We will, and we will learn. And, you know, I know that people talk about back in the old days taking their ginger fizzy bottles back and getting 20p. And although it's not as simple as that and it's not the same, we have been able to change our habits in recent years. And I think consumers want to get rid of things responsibly, want to bring recycling rates up where possible. But also this scheme is to really incentivise people who are littering, unfortunately, or who maybe don't partake in recycling, to get on board with that. We need really clear information as we approach this August for whatever ends up going live from the government.
And do you think, given that we're getting so close to August, maybe that clarity isn't there yet?
No, the clarity is not there, and I think you only have to listen to some of the people you've interviewed or go online to hear about the many businesses who are confused and struggling and really unsure about what their role is. And I think that's also going to happen if consumers aren't given the right information about where things are supposed to go, how we go about this in a really easy, clear way. And that's the really hard work that the Scottish Government has got to do, because this scheme, although it's not the same as other ones around the world, deposit return schemes work very well in other countries, and people understand them greatly now that they've been rolled out for many years. And so we need to be looking at how Scotland can get to that place where everybody is confident with what they're doing, and of course we are getting the environmental sustainability that we are striving for.
Well, finally and briefly on that, would you think that would be manageable by a phased introduction rather than all at once?
I think we're probably going to have to go down a phased route, just hearing some of the stories from businesses, but also understanding that we are close to August and this isn't mainstream knowledge yet. I think a phased introduction would be better. I think we need to be looking at what are the parts that could happen tomorrow, especially with some of these big businesses, and then how can we look to support where the teething problems are real and are a real impact on businesses, and work to find solutions with them on a timescale that works.
Laura Young, thanks for joining us in Scotland Tonight.